Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is Science Fiction Spotlight, my 25 favorite non-franchise science fiction films. But before I begin at the end of this video, please, if you like it, give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, leave comments below. Let me know what some of your favorite science fiction films are. Let me know how you feel about my picks. Now, in my previous video, I ranked some franchises from my science fiction collection, and I said on the follow-up, which is this video, that I would not include any of those movies in this countdown because, quite frankly, if I was doing a top 25 science fiction countdown just for my collection, it would just be dominated with movies from Star Wars and Planet of the Apes and such. So I decided to go with 25 films that are either standalone or they're not in traditional franchises. And we'll get to that when we get to it. But I want to stress, these picks have nothing to do with quality. It's all about watchability. And quite frankly, there's going to be some movies on this list that you're going to be like, what the hell is he talking about? But nostalgia is a powerful thing. So we're going to start at number 25. We're going to work our way down to number 1. And there is a cheat on this countdown. We'll get to it when we get to it. So I don't want to hear about it in the countdowns about how I cheated. I'm giving you that disclaimer right now. So with no further ado, let's start. We're going to start with number 25, and that is E.T. from my Steven Spielberg collection. Directed by Steven Spielberg, as I said, and starring Henry Thomas, Dee Wallace, Peter Coyote, and in her movie debut, Drew Barrymore. What needs to be said about E.T.? It's just one of the greatest movies from the 80s. If you would have went to me 30 years ago and asked me to rank some films, this probably would be number 1 overall. But as it is, E.T. is a wonderful, wonderful film. Here's some of that nostalgia I was talking about. Number 24 is Battle Beyond the Stars. This is a Roger Corman B movie from 1980. And it stars Richard Thomas, George Peppard, Robert Vaughn, and Sandahl Bergman, among others. And this is basically a ripoff of The Magnificent Seven. It's The Magnificent Seven set in space. I saw this theatrically when I was a child, and I have loved this movie ever since. Again, B movie at best. We're not talking quality, but as far as nostalgia goes, it's very powerful. So number 24 is Battle Beyond the Stars. Number 23 is The Book of Eli. Written and directed by the Hughes brothers. Or I'm sorry, not written by, but directed by the Hughes brothers. And starring Denzel Washington, Gary Oldman, and Mila Kunis, among others. This is a post-apocalyptic film. Absolutely love it. I think it's one of Denzel's most underrated films. Number 22 is Looper. Written and directed by Rian Johnson and starring Bruce Willis, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Emily Blunt, and Jeff Daniels, among others. This is a great movie. It's a time travel type movie. Excellent performances around, and it's just, like I said, it's just a great movie. Number 21 is 2001, The Year We Made Contact. Written and directed by Peter Hyams, and starring Roy Scheider, John Lithgow, Helen Mirren, and Bob Balaban, among others. This is the follow-up to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Very underrated film. A lot of people have never seen this film. And again, I prefer it to 2001. It's not a better movie than 2001, but it's more accessible and it's definitely more entertaining, in my opinion. Okay, top 20. Number 20, here goes some controversy. Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford, Sean Young, Daryl Hannah, and the late, great Rutger Hauer. Don't get me wrong, I love Blade Runner. I absolutely love it. Some of you are probably like, why is it so low? Well, again, there's a lot of movies in my collection, and as much as I love this film, the following movies I just enjoy more. But as it is, Blade Runner is an absolute masterpiece. Number 19 is Starship Troopers. Directed by Paul Verhoeven, and starring Casper Van Dien, Denise Richards, Dina Meyer, Michael Ironside, and Clancy Brown, among others. This was the third and final, as far as I'm concerned, great Paul Verhoeven science fiction film. The other two films in his trilogy, as I call them, are coming up, but this one is a lot of fun. I know a lot of you say, well, what about Hollow Man? I don't like Hollow Man. I never have. This movie's entertaining as hell. Okay, here we go. Now, here's one of those cheats I was talking about. Number 18 is Denis Villeneuve's remake of Dune. Now, I know this is 2 movies. It even says right there, 2-movie collection. But I'm sorry. Like Kill Bill, to me, this is just one long movie. They just cut it in half. Dune Part 2 is not a sequel. It's the continuation of the story set up on Part 1. That is why I don't consider this a franchise. I know it is, but I don't consider it one. So it's taking up one spot on my countdown. If you don't like it, go ahead and complain in the comments. But number 18 is Dune. Number 17, here comes some more complaints from you, is the sequel to Blade Runner 2049. And again, I love both movies. I really do. I just find this one a little more entertaining. And it's, I'm sorry, the original Blade Runner, as great as it is, it takes so long to get going because it's too busy with the visuals. And at the time, those visuals were unbelievable. Okay, and I get it. This one's just a little leaner and cuts to the chase a little quicker. So that's why I enjoy this movie a little bit more. I'm not saying it's better. I just enjoy it a little more. Number 16, here comes some more nostalgia for you. Another Corman movie with Death Race 2000, starring David Carradine and Sylvester Stallone, among others. I don't know if you could technically call this a science fiction movie. I mean, it's an action movie, it's a comedy, it's a lot of things. However, it is set in the future, even though it's now the past, but it was considered the future at the time. And to me, this has always been a science fiction type movie. So that's why it's on this list. And as far as why it's so high, like I said, nostalgia is a very, very powerful thing. I love this movie. Okay, number 15 is Outland, directed by Peter Hyams again. This time starring Sean Connery, Peter Boyle, and Frances Sternhagen, she steals the movie. She's awesome in this movie. This is basically just High Noon set in space. But it is an outer space movie. It takes place on one of the moons of Jupiter. And again, it's a great movie. I absolutely love Outland. Okay, here we go. Number 14 is The Hidden, directed by Jack Shoulder and starring Kyle MacLachlan and Michael Nouri, among others. This movie's got like 20 different genres set in one, but the main gist of it is it does have to do with an alien, so that's why I'm including it on this list. Oh, I should have mentioned at the top of the list, you're going to see some big omissions from this, like The Fly and The Blob and The Thing and all those. Those movies are horror movies to me. That's why they're not going to be on this list. They're going to be on a list coming up in October. So this is strictly a science fiction list. The Hidden, excellent, excellent, entertaining movie. I cannot recommend this movie enough if you've never seen it. Okay, number 13 is Westworld, written and directed by Michael Crichton and starring Richard Benjamin, James Brolin, and Yul Brynner. This is Jurassic Park meets The Terminator before either of those films, and it's absolutely incredible. I love this movie. Number 12 is Christopher Nolan's Inception, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, and Elliot Page, among others. This movie just scrambled my brain the first time I saw it theatrically, not to mention the great visuals. Here's my lenticular cover. I absolutely love this. Outside of The Dark Knight, this is my favorite Christopher Nolan film. Number 11 is Edge of Tomorrow, directed by Doug Liman and starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and the wonderful late, great Bill Paxton. This movie is basically Starship Troopers meets Groundhog Day, and my God, it's entertaining. It's definitely one of Tom Cruise's most entertaining films. People who don't like Tom Cruise like this movie because they get to watch him die over and over and over again. And this is just a wonderful, entertaining film. Okay, we are down to the top 10. Number 10 is Terry Gilliam's 12 Monkeys, starring Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe, Christopher Plummer, and in my favorite performance in his career, Brad Pitt. I love this movie. And like Inception, this movie scrambled my brain the first time I saw it for different reasons. But it's just such a wonderful, wonderful movie. And again, Brad Pitt, Madeline Stowe, they're great in this. Bruce Willis, again, one of his best performances. And it's just very, very sad what's happening with Bruce Willis right now. But 12 Monkeys is a great film. Number 9 is Time After Time. Written and directed by Nicholas Meyer and starring Malcolm McDowell, Mary Steenburgen, and in my favorite performance of his career, the late, great David Warner. This is a time travel science fiction romance story, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of my favorite films from the 70s. I watched this movie dozens of times on cable over and over and over, and I was over the moon excited when I finally got it on Blu-ray earlier this year. I absolutely adore this film. Number 8 is Dark City. Written and directed by Alex Proyas and starring Rufus Sewell, Jennifer Connelly, William Hurt, and Kiefer Sutherland, among others. This movie, again, like Inception, like The Matrix, scrambled my brain. And as a matter of fact, this movie came out before The Matrix. And after I saw this and then saw The Matrix a year later, the whole time I kept on having deja vu watching The Matrix. Comes to turn out that they actually used a lot of the same sets. I didn't know that until after the fact. But yeah, Dark City. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I adore this movie. I think it's a masterpiece. I love it. Okay, number 7 is Children of Men, directed by Alfonso Cuarón and starring Clive Owen, Julianne Moore, Michael Caine, and here we go again. I'm going to butcher it like I always do. Let me find it so I can try to stumble through it. Chiwetel Ejiofor. I one of these days that's going to be a goal for mine. One of these days I'm going to get that man's name correctly because he's been in a boatload of movies and he's a fantastic actor. But this movie, it's just an incredible, incredible film. The first time I saw it, I didn't really connect with it, but the second time I did, it sure did. And there's moments in this film that still bring tears to my eyes. It's just an incredible film. Number 6 is Logan's Run from 1976. Starring Michael York and the beautiful Jenny Agutter. This is the movie that made me fall in love with her. And this is the movie that inspired my love with science fiction. Star Wars, in a film that's coming up next, took that to a next level. But this started it really with me. I was 9 years old when I saw this theatrically. And again, it just blew my mind in so many ways. I love it to this day. So Logan's Run is number 6. Top 5. Speaking of the movie that really inspired me, even more so than Logan's Run, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This came out in 1977. I was 10 years old, and this movie shook me to my core. Directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Richard Dreyfuss, Terry Garr, and Francois Truffaut, among others. Classic Spielberg. This is just an incredible movie. I will adore this movie to the day I die. Okay, here we go. Number 4. They Live. This is my Scream Factory Steelbook. Zoom in a little bit on this. Again, you can classify this as a bunch of different things. Action movie, comedy, dark comedy. To me, it's a science fiction movie at heart. and it's an incredible movie. It's aged like fine wine, and I absolutely adore They Live. Rest in peace, Roddy Piper. Top three. Number three is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, some people can say that this is part of a franchise because it's been remade ad nauseum, okay? To me, that doesn't make it a franchise. That just makes it a property that's been remade 10 times. And this version is definitely my favorite, directed by Philip Kaufman and starring Donald Sutherland, Jeff Goldblum, Veronica Cartwright, Brooke Adams, and Leonard Nimoy, among many others. There's even a little cameo from Robert Duvall at the beginning. He's the priest on the swing set at the very, very beginning. Again, like Close Encounters, this movie came out in 1978. I was 11 years old, and this movie really shook me to my core. And the ending is still one of my favorite all-time endings of all time. It's just so good. Rest in peace, Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, and the others who have passed from this incredible cast. I love this movie so much and always will. Number two is Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rachel Ticotin, Sharon Stone, Ronnie Cox, and the incredible Michael Ironside. This movie blew my mind so many ways the first time I saw it theatrically. Number one, I was baked out of my brain. Me and my brother smoked a big old fat joint before we saw it. We sat out in the parking lot and went and saw this. Didn't know anything about it going in other than the fact that it was a science fiction movie. Oh my God, I love this movie. This is, again, it's one of those movies that I could watch once a week and never get bored. And it's definitely one of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies of all time. Total Recall, number two. But number one, and here's some more controversy because, again, RoboCop, not so much that I picked it, but I know some people are definitely yelling right now, this is part of a franchise. There are sequels and a remake. Yeah, you are correct. There are 3 RoboCop movies and a remake. I don't own any of them. This is the only one I own. I like RoboCop 2 somewhat, but not enough to own it. RoboCop 3 is a big steaming piece of shit, and I didn't bother with the remake. So that is why I don't consider this a franchise. Those movies do not exist in this dojo, and that is why RoboCop is number one. I could watch this movie on a loop and never get bored. Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Ronnie Cox, and the incredible Kurtwood Smith is Clarence Boddicker, who is one of my favorite villains of all time. Again, I know it's part of a franchise. Too bad. RoboCop rocks. It's number one. So to recap, number one is RoboCop. Number two is Total Recall. Number three is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Number 4 is They Live. Number 5 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Number 6 is Logan's Run. Number 7 is Children of Men. Number 8 is Dark City. Number 9 is Time After Time. Number 10 is 12 Monkeys. Number 11 is Edge of Tomorrow. 12 is Inception. 13 is Westworld. 14 is The Hidden. 15 is Outland. 16 is Death Race 2000. 17 is Blade Runner 2049. 18 is Dune. 19 is Starship Troopers. 20 is Blade Runner. 21 is 2010, the year we made contact. 22 is Looper. 23 is The Book of Eli. 24 is Battle Beyond the Stars. And rounding up number 25 is Steven Spielberg's classic, E.T. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, again, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe. Most importantly, leave comments below. We are starting October tomorrow, which means for the next 31 days, it will be nothing but horror content. I was going to try to get all, too big for my britches and promise a new video or short per day. I don't know if I can follow through with that, but I am going to start tomorrow with my first video in the series of horror-related videos for October. So I hope you enjoy me for that, and we'll catch you on the next one.